What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having an amazing day. Now today I've got for you some phenomenal stories from r/EntitledPeople. The first two are actually about the same kid, one little horrible entitled brother who just wants to get his way the entire time. I mean, being jealous that your younger sibling bought a house before you and going crazy because of it and demanding to move in and saying that should be my house surely is entitlement personified. My entitled brother threw a massive fit just because he was mad I bought a house. Yeah, so I'm aware of several similar stories involving entitled family members wanting houses they have no claim to. But I guess this stuff really happens. And it's no picnic when it does. I suddenly became a homeowner some time ago because a friend of mine's grandfather was moving to Florida and his house was ripe for picking. I knew the old man well. RIP, he passed a few months later from a sudden stroke. Anyway, he offered the house and property to me for $200K. I practically ran to the bank to apply for the loan. The house is a manufactured home from the 80s, but it was remodeled repeatedly by the former owner and has a separate garage building. The home and property could have gone for more, but he offered the house to me because he knew I'd take care of it. I had $30K saved that made a good down payment, and I was happy to leave my apartment. I'd wanted to eventually move out of there after what my cheating ex did anyway, but that's a story for another time. As for my brother, well, he went bonkers when he found out I bought a house. He had this repeated history of copycatting me for the past decade. But there was no way in heck he could copycat buying a house with his terrible credit and inconsistent income, and he got in an argument with me over how I was just trying to make him look bad by doing something he couldn't. No, I just wanted a dang house, and the price was too good to refuse. Then he told me I should have turned it down because he had no good reason. I could practically see his screws getting looser with every dumb excuse he made as to why I shouldn't have done it. But I pointed out all those excuses were just because I did something he currently can't. And when I bought the house, it had nothing to do with him. I just wanted to be a homeowner for the security and extra space. I finally don't have to store my camper at my parents' house, and I have a garage that I can store stuff and tinker in. I bought a camping cot, he bought a camping cot. I went to the gym, he went to the gym. I bought good booze, he bought good booze, or stole it from me. I bought a new TV, he bought a new TV. I bought a truck, he bought a truck. I bought a camper, he bought a camper. I bought a used portable DVD player. Guess what? He bought a used portable DVD player. I went camping in a specific place, he went camping in that specific place. I bought a house, he 404 error, insert tea kettle noises and Benny Hill chase. He also acted like a complete child towards me when he built his mini ram thing. He actually confronted me and said it was cooler than my boring Tundra because it was something original. I swear, he did the dumbest mods to that vehicle, like putting twist studs in the suspension coils to raise the ride heights. Well, after weeks of openly fuming about me being a homeowner, my brother suddenly acted like he had another brilliant idea. He wanted to move in with me. I laughed at him. Then he ended up demanding that I rent one of my rooms to him, and for only $200 a month, utilities included, because he shouldn't have to pay any more than that since we're family. He flipped his lid when I said, frick no. Then he got our parents involved again. Only this time, they actually sided with him at first, though it was mainly our mother. She and my brother showed up, demanding I let my brother move in, and my brother had a poop-eating grin on his face that I could tell he was thinking he was getting his way thanks to Mummy Dearest. I said, F no to both their faces, and my mother cried that I was using foul language to her and being a jerk when I had the space now. I called my dad, and he told my mum that he'd warned her I wouldn't do it, and to leave me the heck alone. Mum whined that my brother was living out of his camper next to a shabby house he was renting space from, but I said that wasn't my problem to fix, and my brother has proven countless times that he cannot be trusted. My brother was fuming to the point of being red with veins popping out. My mum tried one more time to convince me with tears, and that just made me angrier. I went on a rant that was something like this. Bro can't buy a house, so he wanted to invade mine. I refused to ever live with my brother again. I would sooner live in the woods without electricity than with him. He's intentionally irritating as heck, and if I had him as a roommate, I just knew he'd steal my booze, take my stuff, and invade my privacy non-stop. Not freaking happening. No matter how many tears mum tries using on me. My mum broke down and finally conceded that she'd never convince me after that rant. And she had to take my brother by the hand and leave with him because he initially refused to go and kept begging her to turn back and make me let him move in. And then I yelled to him that it was a laugh that he called me a mama's boy before because he'd become exactly that. And this was just at the time he tried to get our mother to make me trade vehicles with him because he felt ashamed to be driving a minivan. He yanked away from mum, then told me to go and screw myself and the horse I rode in on. I laughed and pointed out I didn't ride in on anything because I was already home, but his rattle-can horse was waiting for him in the driveway. He flipped his lid again and looked like his head was going to explode, but mum got in front of him and told him to just go. Then he drove off in his rattle-can Silverado without her. He'd driven her there, so then I had to take her home. While taking her home, I made things very clear with my mother over why I could never trust my brother again, and his life was not my burden to bear. And then I told her how little my brother was offering for rent anyway, which he'd conveniently not told her. Then I later rented that same room to one of my best friends for $600 a month, and he pays for utilities. The other 2 rooms are my bedroom and a home office. There's an extra room in the separate garage too. So my mother tried to make me let my brother live in the garage instead. There's enough room in its storage room for a bedroom. Again, I said frick no. And that's since been turned into another friend's rented room with a bit of plywood remodel. Yeah, I kind of rented both the spare bedroom and garage room out to friends out of spite, but I wasn't letting my brother live with me in any capacity. And also, to be fair, if you are able to do that and then make some more money, why would you not do that? It's so good. Yeah, you have the spite on the one hand, but also you're making money to pay back your mortgage. It's brilliant. And you don't have to live with your brother. It's a win-win-win. My brother later ended up having a complete meltdown in front of our parents over how he's the older brother. He should be the one who owns a house first. He's supposed to be successful, and I'm supposed to be the big loser in his shadow. Our dad poked him with his cane and told him that's not how life works, and they had a big argument. They told him to get out and not come back until he's cooled off and learn that he's just being a pointlessly jealous jerk. Now, the next part I post, my brother did the dumbest thing of all. Okay, so there we go. Don't worry, we are going to get into that second story, but just off the rip, after looking at what I've just seen there, what a terrible person your brother is. I'm thankful, to be honest, that your dad isn't in the same vein as your mum and enabling this behavior. You can definitely see where your brother's got this entitled mentality from. It's definitely not from your dad. But yeah, I'm happy that at least one of your parents is sane. I think this is just typical golden child syndrome. He feels like the most important person in the family for some reason. Maybe he has been enabled in the past by your mum, but yeah, the quicker he learns that that isn't the way the world works, and your dad's right, like poke him with the cane again. It doesn't matter how old you are. It's about what you do in your life and how successful you've been, and if you have the money to buy a house, go and buy a house. I mean, you can buy a house at 18, you can buy a house at 90, you know? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. If you got the money, do it. There's no rite of passage. There's no, oh, I'm older than you, therefore I have to buy a house first. If you had the means to do it, you would have done it. But you didn't. That's tough. So anyway, here is that second post which OP referenced at the end of his first one. The time my brother got petty revenge on a neighbor with a chocolate turd. Yes, a chocolate turd. When my brother and I were growing up, he wasn't so bad. We had at least 4 different families live in the house next door since it was a rental. Well, the family that lived there around the time I was 12 were just awful people. And they intentionally trained their dog to poop in other people's yards. My dad hashed it out with them many times and even threatened to call the cops. Now, the kids of these people were also brats. They were 2 boys like us and of similar ages. They stole our bikes for a joyride since they'd broken theirs. My dad had to make the parents return our bikes, and then we got called snitches. Fortunately, both of these boys were just as hated at school, so they eventually stopped talking to us. After months living next door to these people, their dog was still pooping in our yard. They were forced to clean up the poop several times, and another neighbor did call the cops on them about their dog. One day, we find out their landlord was not renewing their lease, and they were to be gone in a month. My brother, the schemer he is, took some chocolate candy bars and carefully melted and shaped them to look like turds. They were fairly convincing looking as dog poop from a distance. My brother set up the fake poo in our front yard and then waited for the family to get home. Then yelled at them that their dog did it again, then proceeded to eat the fake poo right in front of them. One of them threw up, and then they all threw up. And my brother milked it by talking about how tasty it was in detail. We didn't find any poop from their dog in our yard for the next couple of weeks before they moved out. That was really not what I was expecting, but wow, phenomenal from your brother, I suppose. Although really quite weird, to be quite honest. Okay, so yeah, a slightly different second story to the first one there. And I've got to say, I put some respect back on your brother's name after that. That was good. Now, again, I've got to say, a little bit weird. However, at least it's like funny rather than just going crazy and saying, oh, my brother's got a house before me. No, I want that house. I want to move in for next to no money. That is more enjoyable and a good prank. Imagine seeing that, not realizing obviously that it's chocolate, and seeing your neighbor eating your dog's poo off his front lawn. That's going to really mess with you upstairs, isn't it? And yeah, beautiful right there. He should be doing more of that, your brother, OP, and less of the first story. Anyway, we've got time for one more post. Let's get into it. To the two entitled brats that disturbed a flight from Iceland to Canada and caused a delay, I hope you're banned for life. I was on a recent flight from Iceland to Canada, and minutes before takeoff, literally as the hostess was doing safety demonstration, a girl jumps out of her seat and interrupts her to tell her she forgot her purse in the airport with her passport in it, asking if she can just go and get it. She was hyperventilating. The hostess asks her to sit down and calm down, and she goes to inform the crew. Then another crew member comes over, and lo and behold, the story changes into, no, I have my passport, but I need the purse because I have medication in it. Okay, immediately, I have massive doubts over this. I don't think you can get onto a plane without having your passport. I mean, when you go through the final gate, everyone has their passport checked, right? It would be impossible, I think, to board the plane without having it, unless you somehow dropped it, in the gangway after that, or up the stairs onto the plane or whatever. I think it'd be extremely challenging, almost impossible actually, to get on a plane without your passport. Anyway, the story continues. They ask her what type of medication. Maybe they have it on board. But then she snaps back at them, telling them it doesn't matter what medication, and that she needs her purse, full stop, and she can't have this conversation right now. What the frick? Yeah, I mean, when are you going to have that conversation if you can't have it right now? Isn't this the perfect time to have it? Later, they informed her that the ground crew searched the gate where the girl told them the purse would be, but they found nothing. Then it got worse when her brother jumped, screaming at the crew, saying he can go and look for it. We were literally in take-off position, away from the gate. The crew informed him that they can't allow him to do that. Then he charged out of his seat, demanding to speak to the pilot, saying, I'm a pilot, and I know what can be done. The audacity. So after 45 minutes, the guy comes back, grabs his carry-ons and his sister, and left the plane after making a pathetic little speech saying his sister could not have survived the flight without the medication. At this point, everyone else on the flight was just like, get the frick off, dude. No one wants to hear this trash. Later on, the captain informed the passengers that they were kicked off the plane because the purse was found, but there was no medication in it. And then the crew had to manually confirm the belongings of everyone on the plane to make sure these two did not leave anything suspicious behind, causing everyone to freak out over a potential security threat, considering the BS story the two morons told. Oh my gosh, that is such a good point that I didn't even think of. Yeah, it makes complete sense. That would take ages. So the whole ordeal caused the flight to be delayed by an hour or so. But it was infuriating to see how rude they were to the lovely crew and how entitled they thought they were to everyone's time. It was a packed flight with families and kids on board. She probably just didn't want to lose her purse, knowing that if she made up a whole sob story, they'd just go and get her bag and hand it to her, no questions asked. Keep them off flights, please. Yeah, I agree. It's definitely people like this that should be banned from flying. It's just so entitled, so selfish. You just have no right to ruin everyone else's day and flight just because you were stupid enough to leave your purse behind in the airport. That's on you. It just is. Also, who knows? I mean, if you do the right things and yeah, fair enough. Say to the staff, oh, I made a mistake. I left my purse at the gate. Can you just ring and have someone collect it and then I can get it another time, or it could be sent to you, whatever. That's fine. But don't ruin everyone's day and cause the plane to be delayed and, all this other stuff just because you're an idiot and left a belonging of yours behind. I mean, yeah, the top comment here literally is, the irony is, if the purse was going to be found, as it was, the airline probably could have arranged to have it sent to them on the next flight. They didn't need all that drama. Exactly. It doesn't even matter like that much. You'll get it back. Why lie about first your passport being in it, then life-saving medication that clearly was absolute BS? It's just all a load of rubbish. And yeah, I genuinely do think they should be banned, at least from the airline. Ideally, from going anywhere on a plane ever again. I'm not sure logistically if that's possible, but you know, it should be. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Really hope you enjoyed this, and my hat if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, well, let me tell you, you've missed out on what's been on my head this entire episode. And let me tell you, it is a phenomenal bucket hat. That's all you really need to know, to be honest. If you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments down below. Watch some more here, link down below as well. And yeah, make sure you're subscribed and followed for content like this in the future.